Kuro Troll says, what are you going to do when the footage releases? Well, I'm not really convinced the footage will release. Hardin's argument about it is bad because Hardin's argument relies on the idea that the government had the body cam footage properly classified as evidence. It didn't. It's one of those little mistakes. My case had a lot of them. Just little things just happened to get leaked out or whatever. Happened several times. It's very strange. I don't know why it keeps happening. But in this case, the video was never offered or accepted into evidence by the court. And therefore, it was not ever in evidence. It was in the Mendes system, but you have to upload everything into the Mendes system, whether you end up using it or not. But the rule specifically says it's only public if it is offered and accepted. The body cam footage was neither offered nor accepted. We resolved the issue without resorting to it at all. So I'm not actually convinced the body cam footage will come out. That would be unlawful. In fact, the release of it that has happened twice is unlawful, each of those releases. I'm not saying that the people who viewed it commit a crime. They just made a request. The error is not on them. Although I do think that the attorney behind it, Matthew Hardin, knows and knew at the time that that footage was improperly classified and that something was going on that should not have been happening. But that's not really his fault. And I like Hardin, so I don't want to be like angry at him or anything. He's just doing his job. That being said, the county misclassified and then unlawfully disclosed the video footage. So there is a very specific civil remedy for that. And, you know, I may consider pursuing that at some point in the future, but we'll see. Other than that, I'm not going to talk about it too much because, you know, I may be pursuing legal action in the future. For now, I'm mostly just concerned about resolving the issue. And if the law is followed, then the issue will resolve in my favor. I don't see any valid exception that would change the legal status of the privacy status of the video. You can't just get a gaggle of people from a weirdo autistic website that thinks that they're the entire world to say, I want to see it and call that a public interest. That's not the type of public interest that is around. Public interest is, typically going to involve some sort of racial animus or something like that, an allegation of impropriety that is severe. In my case, I know it's popularly stated that I blamed the police for planting evidence, but I never did. That's not a thing that actually happened. I explained what the state would have to prove if we went to trial. The state would have to prove first and foremost that the drugs in question belonged to me. It's a possession case, and so that I possessed it and that I did so knowingly with intention to do so. Which means they have to rule out any possible other sources of it. For example, and I gave the example, there could be either the, not in my case, but there could be either by intention or by mistake, the accidental transportation of contraband by a narcotics officer into a property. Who knows how they would do that? Like but things happen. Stuff gets put in pockets or whatever. So that in theory could happen. The other thing is, like in our case, there were two other people who recently had access to the home and were no longer welcome there, and both left with a little bit of animus. And so it's possible that there's reasonable doubt until the state proves otherwise that those people could have brought the contraband into the house. And so if we went to trial, they would have to prove that it didn't belong to Aaron, that it didn't belong to our former nanny Cheney, that it wasn't from the police or something like that. But I did not say that the police planted anything in our house. I'm not stupid. That would be a dumb thing to say. I knew it wasn't true, so that would be really dumb. But people say I said that. And then when you point out that, no, I didn't. And it's funny because you can't actually find anywhere that I did. They'll say, well, you implied it. It's like, no, I didn't. I didn't imply it. You want me to have implied it, but I didn't imply it. So, but even so, let's just take a step back. Let's say that I claimed that there was a government conspiracy and that they did do it. Like I made the claim and I was like, no, this is what happened. They planted the drugs. And then I pled guilty, in court and said that they were mine. That resolves the issue because obviously they wouldn't have planted the drugs and there's no need to check for some level of impropriety or anything like that. That doesn't generate a public interest just because you go, aha, there's a reason that there's some sort of disagreement. Well, there isn't disagreement because the plea agreement said very clearly that all of the drugs were mine. They were in a safe. It was me who did it, me who put them there. So by necessity, even if I had implicated the police earlier, which I did not, it would have been they're unimplicated by the guilty plea. So it obviates the question, makes it moot, and there's no longer a public interest. The public interest is served. Did the police plant anything? No. How do we know? Because I pled guilty. So that would be impossible. So there's not really a valid legal argument or even a valid logical argument to it. They're welcome to try. I mean, of course, they appear to be doing so. They filed to intervene in a criminal case, which doesn't make sense. There's no intervention is a weird thing. Intervention in criminal cases is almost unheard of because there's basically no instance where the binding of me in a criminal matter or the non-binding of me would somehow bind the rights of someone else. People's counsel says, Nick, shut the fuck up. Just let this go and move on. You're Barbara Streisanding this. I disagree. I do think under normal circumstances that would be a thing. But the level of dedication that's been applied to me has exceeded the Streisand effect. And when things were left unaddressed, they still progressed and progressed and progressed. Because this isn't a regular level of, curiosity about a subject. This isn't normal. It's obsessive. And it's like really obsessive. It doesn't stop. But that said, no, I'll do what I want to do. I'll talk about it to the level I think is appropriate. That's okay. Thanks for your input.